everyone, and welcome to Elysian Eclipse, an upcoming game by 7DAC Studios, which is meant to be, hopefully, the big spiritual successor to Spore. And as such a game, I figured that a nice thing to start with is to try and recreate some of the MAXIS cells. And so, for the very first cell to try and recreate, I figure we should start small and maybe try the bulb one first, since it's such a nice little simple one, but one I think many of us will recognise immediately. And here we are in Elysian Eclipse's cell editor. Now, even though a lot of the cells in Spore have more of a skin kind of membrane, where it's a bit more, how would you say, it's got like a bit more of a dull kind of texture, it'd be rude not to take advantage of Elysian Eclipse's new shinier ones, so my cell's going to be a little bit shinier, but hopefully still just as good. So first I'm going to do that, I'm actually going to set the colour now. Reason being is that I can overlap these. In fact, let me show you. So say I make this one dark, like the original bulb cell, but I make this one like a very bright red. If I merge it in, it actually affects the current coloration there, which can mean for some really awesome possibilities later, but it's not what I want now. So, like I said, just going to do me a bit of a favour if I go ahead and do that now. So, for bulb, going to go ahead and just do that for every single time. I love that I can just keep on pasting in the colours like that. We're going to start with a long sausage, because it's got a bit of a sausage end on the back side of it. And if I stretch it out a little bit, it will just help make it like a little bit longer and kind of disperse the membrane. Like that. There we go. Now then, for the front half, it is quite big and round, so I'm going to go ahead and at the moment just chuck in a bunch of parts. Now, as you can probably tell, you can't currently change the actual physical sizes of the membranes yet. You just have to keep on slapping on more parts like this. Hopefully a temporary thing, hopefully that'll be fixed in the future, because this is a bit of an effort just to try and add a larger mass. Right, so here is the start of our cell. Gonna go ahead then and give it, so we don't really have the same kind of mouths that are available in Spore. Currently, all we have is this one little thing here that is able to sort of kind of absorb nutrients, as opposed to having, like, you know, a big maneuverable jaw or a filter feeder. This just straight up absorbs. I can make the eyes slanted. That's a bit weird. Make them really like, oh dear god, this is awful. And let's see if I can try. That looks oddly adorable, but can I try and move them apart just a little bit? Like, ooh, that's even better. Oh, that looks strange. And then, of course, the flagellum. The exact same thing in Spore. We'll just stick that on the end. It's a bit asymmetrical there, but we can fix that. I'll stick that straight on the end, make it nice and large, and give it a correct coloration, which is a bit of like a greyish, kind of stripy, pinky thingy. And rotate it to the right side like that. And then for the finishing touch, I actually want to add like a couple of little spots here and there, just to give it like a bit of a texture. There aren't any patterns in the game yet, so you can't make like actual nice custom patterns to your creatures. But you can still at least add these decorative ones here, and try and simulate markings in a way, as you can see here. And a couple of little spots here and about. So one down there. Basically anywhere that it will allow me to make them visible in. Right, and there we go then. That is our bulb cell, which I like it overall. I just really do feel like that the mouth is kind of ruining it. Unless, could I? Oh, this would be a little bit cursed, but considering that it is like a big, you know, beaky thing. Okay, well, there's the alternative. Instead of giving it a functional mouth, although the mouth is actually hidden inside still, I've kind of made a beak, which I suppose works. So there is my bulb cell. Okay, for my next cell, I'm going to try something that seems a little bit more in line with Elysian Eclipse, and that is the Buzzy Cell. Now, obviously, it won't actually have the electric ability, but I think I can still recreate that one quite nicely. Once again, going to start off then with the first one, and the coloration. It's got like a bit of a nice leafy green. Something like that, I'd say. So there is the front half of my Buzzy Cell. Now I'm going to make the back half. So I'm thinking, I'm just going to start with the actual light bulby bit first. So let me go ahead then and get like a bit of a nice kind of peachy, or perfect, so that kind of coloration there. And add another one there. I'll go ahead and just make that one a bit larger. Now, to try and connect these two very different meshes together, I was going to try and use a cone part, but unfortunately I can't really place it in the right area I want it to. It's not going to be large enough. So I'm thinking instead, since I've got the shiny membrane here and the skin membrane there, I'll go ahead and use the skin one again. The same coloration, but it should have like just a visually different cutoff point. Now, for the, I'm gonna go ahead and have these two on each side again, just like in the original. I'll grab this shade of brown and chuck that onto the flagellum, and I'll make it bigger just because I think it'll fit it being bigger. And if you're wondering, this does actually animate in the gameplay. I don't have access to the gameplay, but I've seen demo videos where the flagellum actually do kind of flow back and forth like in Spore. So it looks rigid now, don't you worry about that. We'll add the giant eye. Oh god, this actually works. Oh, this is right this time. And we can even make it the same kind of brown that you do see in the Buzzy Cell. And then for the mouth, so like I mentioned earlier, we only have the pseudopod mouth, which I guess isn't too far off actually, but I think just for the sake of looking correct, the cilium might be the way to go. I'm going to take the same colour as before and apply it to that. And then now that I've got the mouth the way I want it to be, I can also start looking into adding some more patterns yet again. So a couple little spheres just kind of dotted around here and there. This one's a bit big, so I'll go ahead and reduce the global size. And I think a nice, kind of like a bright neon green, or maybe not quite neon, but something like that. Right, and now we have the Buzzy Cell, which I think looks a lot better this time as opposed to the bulb cell from earlier. This one I think definitely looks a bit more convincing, though still a little bit strange. And the next one, for my third cell, I'm going to try Par. Now, Par, I'm aware that I probably can't do the stripes, and especially the large mouth, but I still want to give it a go nonetheless. So, first things first again, just like the first two times, I'm going to go ahead then and start with a nice dark, sort of reddish purplish body, kind of like that. And once again, I'm just going to go ahead and just make it as big as I can. Actually, I wonder, so if I were to go ahead then and add another layer like this right here, what if I were to then add that one here, but this one could be the orange, since he does have large orange stripes. That could maybe simulate something. It'd be much more gradual kind of colour, but I guess it actually kind of works in a way. I quite like it. And I'll try again the same thing on the other side. So I'm gonna have to kind of predict where I'm gonna put everything. So perhaps like that, and then I've got another one here. It's not quite right, but hey, it's a good demonstration of what you can do. Now, just like before, I'm going to make the jet part the same way as I did with the electric piece in the previous creation. So something kind of like that. I mean, it looks really odd, but at least once again, it got like a very clear visual cutoff point. It does look really funky though. And since I got the color saved, I will also add this here. This, I want it to be large, but a bit stubbier actually, kind of like that. Now for the eyes, I do actually have these eyes right here, which will fit perfectly for our Par creature. So for this, going to go ahead and add in the dark kind of brownish reddish eyes like so. So I'll make the first ones here quite long. Oh god, that makes it look a bit a bit strange. Okay, maybe I'll just make it, I think that's as far as I can get away with. It looks odd. And then the second pair right next to it will be visually smaller, which is about what we want. In fact, maybe I can make them a bit alike like that. And then once again, it is time for the great big beak. I'm wondering, can I try and make the beak using this? Actually, it's not terribly far. It actually looks cuter. It's not quite right, but maybe a bit of like finagling and playing around with it, I can try and get something right. You know what? I take it back. That does not work at all. That just looks so strange. But you know what? I'm gonna stick with it. That right there is my Par cell, which I'm got very mixed feelings. I think it's safe to say that MAXIS themed cells won't necessarily work in Elysian Eclipse. However, I can imagine the very first demonstration of a cell from the 2005 demo of Spore, perhaps that one would work better. Definitely worth a shot. But I think that is enough cell making for today. So as always guys, thank you all so much, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you look forward to the game, and I will see you all again. Cheers.